Hive-Mind extraterrestrial beings. Harvesters from Independence Day. Explored. President of Domestic Distribution of 20th Century Fox, Tom Sherak, predicted, "I have a feeling this is going to be a phenomenon." Not a movie, a phenomenon. How right was he about Independence Day, which grossed $817.4 million across the globe? Dean Devlin was an actor who had just appeared in a few TV shows and movies in 1990. Roland Emmerich was a German filmmaker who also had directed a few low-budget films like The Noah's Ark Principle and Hollywood Monster. Devlin and Emmerich met while filming Emmerich's 1990 movie Moon 44, where they formed a partnership and made their first film, Universal Soldier. Their next film was Stargate, which was quite successful and paved the way for their alien invasion blockbuster that would go on to become a phenomenon. Emmerich wanted the aliens to arrive in 15-mile-wide warships and the invasion in the biggest cities on the planet. But the estimated production cost of 3,000 visual effects they wanted on the film was coming to $150,000 per effect. Emmerich sought help from his old film school friend, Volker Engel, whose team of students arrived in LA and they managed to reduce the cost of each VFX down to $40,000. For today's generation, CGI and VFX are just pieces of cake. But back in 1996, the special effects of Independence Day are bound to give anyone goosebumps. Now about the cast of the film. What can be said about it when the film features Will Smith, Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum, Judd Hirsch, Robert Loggia, Margaret Collin? The list is endless. Each star was so perfect for their roles that it seemed no one else would fit in those characters. 20 years after the aliens failed to annihilate the human population, while the entire world celebrated their Independence Day on 4th of July, the aliens were back to challenge the human race once again. In Emmerich's 2016 film, Independence Day: Resurgence, but Earth had not been sitting quietly either for 20 years. America's first female president, featured by CeeLo Ward, teamed up with an alien expert, Goldblum, to produce fighter ships to tackle the alien technology. But as I said earlier, by 2016 people have been quite used to watching serious, breathtaking visual effects in many films. So, no matter how hard Emmerich tried, the nerve-wracking impact of the original movie could not be achieved in the sequel. Hence, let us go back to the 2nd of July, 1996, and relive the magical moments with Independence Day. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Earth, take a good look. It could be your last Independence Day. A gigantic mothership approached the Earth and deployed several warships, each about 15 miles wide in diameter, that positioned themselves on the planet's major cities. A busy life on Earth took a halt for some time as people were perplexed with the arrival of the new saucer-like things above their cities. Captain Stephen Hiller, a Marine FA-18 pilot based at MCAS El Toro, was asked to join duty despite being on leave. His girlfriend Jasmine was not happy with his departure, as she had had a bad feeling about the aliens. David Levinson, an MIT-trained satellite technician, received a hidden signal code with global satellite transmissions. He decoded the signal, only to find the countdown time for the coordinated alien attack. David tried to contact his ex-wife Constance Spano, who was the White House communications director under President Thomas Whitmore, but she was not ready to listen. David and his father Julius Levinson drove all the way to Washington, D.C. and somehow convinced Constance and alerted the president about the threat that loomed on the cities. When all communication from the Earth failed and the aliens destroyed the helicopters that were sent to communicate, the president ordered an immediate evacuation of the major cities. As soon as the countdown stopped, the giant saucers started opening up and started firing destructive beams, causing widespread destruction and killing millions of people. The president, his closest personnel, David, and his father boarded Air Force One and just managed to escape the devastation as the White House and the other buildings exploded. Jasmine somehow managed to take shelter with her son and dog as the fire roared past them. I still remember the scene and the applause it received from the audience as the dog jumped past the fire into safety. Within all the chaos, how can anyone forget to introduce the remarkable character of Russell Cass and his family? He was an alcoholic but former fighter pilot. He kept claiming about his abduction by the aliens shortly after his military service, as locals kept bullying him about the sexual abuse by the aliens.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
After the colossal massacre, on the 3rd of July, the president decided to launch a counterattack. But the major challenge was that their warships, mothership, and fighter vessels were protected by a shield that could not be penetrated by any weapon. The fighter pilots were easily defeated as a swarm of fighter vessels were released from the saucer warships and engaged in combat. Steven, who was one of the fighter pilots of this mission, managed to crash land one of the alien fighter vessels. As Steven approached the vessel and opened the door, we got the first glimpse of the Harvester alien. But Steven knocked it unconscious. Julius accused the government of knowing about the alien from the 1950s, but never taking any precaution. The president was not aware of the recovered spacecraft in Roswell, New Mexico, preserved in Area 51.
They were all locked up in a bunker. Where was that? David!
I don't know.
Area 51, right?
The Secretary of Defense agreed on the matter, while the president and his group reached Area 51 to survey the aliens and the crashed vessel. Dr. Brackish Okun, the research team head, informed the president that they had been trying to repair the alien fighter vessel since then. Still, they couldn't experiment with it as they were unable to imitate the advanced level of power used by the aliens. Only after the alien mothership had entered the Earth's orbit, the power of the fighter vessel had been turned on. Later, Dr. Okun took them to the vault where the dead bodies of 3 aliens had been preserved. From several years' research, scientists had discovered that they wear some sort of biomechanical suit, under which they have a body as fragile as human beings. The aliens breathed oxygen, tolerant to heat and cold just like humans, which was the probable cause of their interest in our planet. He added that though they had eyes and ears, there were no vocal cords, and assumed they communicated with telepathy. Steven reached Area 51 with the unconscious Harvester. As Dr. Okun brought the Harvester in the lab at first, we could see the biomechanical suit covering and protecting their bodies. The fragile physiology of the aliens needed the protection of the biosuit equipped with arms, legs, and tentacles. Soon, the alien regained consciousness and started a rampage in the lab. It was then the audience got a full view of the alien. They were about 3 to 4 feet, grayish blue, quasi-humanoid body and slender limbs with 2 digits. Their heads were enormous, and reflected eyes had no pupils. As everyone rushed towards the lab, they saw the alien had attached his tentacles around Dr. Okun's neck and spoke in his voice. They also communicated through telepathy, as the president realized that the harvesters were like locusts, invading a series of planets and draining the natural resources out of them.
And there be a peace between us.
As the president tried to negotiate peace between them, the alien refused and threatened to destroy the human race. Meanwhile, Jasmine managed to get a hold of a truck and rescue all the survivors, including the First Lady, Marilyn. They were found by Steven and brought to Area 51, where Marilyn died. The president was forced to take the drastic decision of launching a nuclear attack on the alien warship, but to their horror, even the impact of a nuclear missile was negative. All hopes for survival were gone when David finally came up with a plan. As his father warned him about catching a cold, David realized that he could infect the mothership with a computer virus that would disable their protective shield for some time and make their warships vulnerable to missile attacks. As David proposed his plan, Steven volunteered to operate the refurbished fighter vessel, fly to the mothership with David, and proceed with the plan. The US military contacted different nations to organize a worldwide counterattack against the aliens. General William Gray announced in public, requesting people with flying experience to step forward and volunteer for this massive counterattack. Russell Cass also volunteered for this operation and told Captain William Gray, "I won't let you down."
And I just want you to know that I won't let you down.
Steven and Jasmine tied the knot with David and Constance as witnesses as the two grew closer once again. The president gave a motivational speech at the dawn of the 4th of July to the fighter pilots joining the mass counterattack.
It is the 4th of July, and you will once again be fighting for our freedom.
Highlighting that humanity couldn't be consumed by their petty differences anymore. This time, on the 4th of July, they were fighting for their independence against annihilation and for their right to exist. President Whitmore also joined the combat as he had been a fighter pilot, and he insisted that he belong in the air.
Well, I belong in the air.
Once David launched the virus, the protective shields were disabled, and the human fighter pilots started launching missiles towards the alien warship. But, even though the missiles started getting exhausted, enough damage couldn't be inflicted on the alien warship. Not to mention, thousands of alien fighter vessels were deployed to confront the humans. Soon, the saucer warship prepared to launch the destructive beam to destroy the base. Only Russell Cass had one missile left, which he was instructed to fire at the launching point of the alien warship. But unfortunately, Russell's missile launcher malfunctioned, and he sacrificed his life by crashing his jet into the launching point of the alien warship, destroying it. Though the people of Earth rejoiced, Russell's children were shattered. Meanwhile, David and Stephen were stuck to the mothership as they were unable to retreat. They were compelled to launch a missile and get out of the mothership just at the nick of time before it exploded. They returned to Earth and reunited with their family as humanity rejoiced with their victory over the alien invasion. The blockbuster film holds the record of the maximum number of miniature model work in a film, which was extraordinary, especially the miniature of the White House. The explosion of the White House was the most iconic shot, which appears in teasers, trailers, and VHS editions of the film. The film in total bagged 35 awards, including the Best Visual Effects Award in the Oscar. It also got nominated for Best Sound in the Oscar. It is heard that music director David Arnold isolated himself in a Los Angeles hotel room for 4 months to stay away from the increasing marketing hype of the film. But from his hotel room, he could see helicopters carrying banners for the film, which made him even more stressed. Though the critics pointed out a lot of loopholes in the plot, I guess the audience didn't care for it. Even in 2010, the readers of Entertainment Weekly rated Independence Day as the second most excellent summer movie for the last 20 years, lagging only behind Jurassic Park. Both Will Smith and Bill Pullman underwent basic Air Force training for their roles. The film was even given a private screening in the White House for President Bill Clinton and his family before being released in the United States on the 2nd of July, 1996. "20 years of evolution, Independence Day, resurgence. 20 years had passed since the alien invasion. Still, former President Whitmore got nightmares of alien invasions. Whitmore's daughter, Patricia, or Patty, was a fighter pilot like her father, but retired from the job to take care of her father, who had become disturbed from his previous experiences. She presently worked for the President, Elizabeth Lanford, and was a good friend of Dylan, son of Stephen Hiller, who had died a few years back. The United Nations had founded Earth Space Defense, or ESD, to develop global defense and research for alien invasion and acted as a warning system against any future alien threats. The destroyed cities were restored, while peace existed among different nations following mankind's victory over the alien invasion. The modern cities were also equipped with modern technology to tackle the further extraterrestrial threat. Apart from its headquarters in Area 51, ESD had set up its bases in Moon, Mars, Rhea, and satellites of Earth. Next, we were introduced to Patty's fiance, Jake Morrison, and his friend Charlie, and their supervisor, Captain Jang Lau, stationed at the base camp on the Moon. We were also introduced to Captain Joshua Adams, who visited the captivated aliens. But the aliens who had been immobile for the past 20 years had suddenly become activated. Was it indicating something? David Levinson, the director of ESD, had been summoned by the warlord Dikembe Umbutu in the African state of Ubuntu with Floyd Rosenberg. He met Dr. Catherine Marceau, a prominent psychologist treating patients suffering from mental trauma caused by the alien invasion. She was also researching people who had been in direct telepathic connection with the Harvesters. She was surprised to find that many victims had visions of an alien symbol consisting of a circle drawn through it. Both Levinson and Marceau traveled to find a new kind of alien warship. Levinson and Marceau concluded that this ship was drilling through the core of the Earth. They also realized that the aliens had sent a distress signal to their own planet before the final defeat. Ubuntu, Whitmore, and Dr. Oken were telepathically connected to the aliens and had a vision of an unidentified spherical object. Soon, an unidentified spherical craft was seen approaching the Earth. Considering it as another alien attack, President Lanford ordered to destroy it as the moon base camp shot it down despite several objections from Levinson. Soon, Jake arrived and took Levinson, Floyd, Ubuntu, and Marceau to the moon at the crash site of the spherical craft.
I forgot how much I hate this.
They recovered a large container from the site. In the meantime, Dr. Brackish Oaken recovered from his coma of 20 years and started scribbling alien symbols on his bedroom wall. In Washington, D.C., a celebration program was organized to rejoice the victory over the new alien craft and the 20th anniversary of victory over the alien invasion. Many veterans who participated in the first invasion attended, but as soon as Thomas Whitmore stood up for his speech, he warned everyone with his telepathic connection by saying, "They're coming back." As Whitmore, Ubuntu, and Oaken realized, a huge mothership, more than 3,000 miles in diameter, approached the Earth and destroyed the moon base camp and other orbital defenses. Then, it shifted over the North Atlantic Ocean while causing devastation and havoc in several countries. As Whitmore tried to communicate with a captivated Harvester, suddenly, it grabbed him with his tentacle and warned them that the Harvester Queen had arrived. Ubuntu slaughtered the alien as it tried to get out of its biomechanical suit. The military fighters noted the infrared signal from the new mothership, thus spotting the alien queen in its chamber. This time, David confirmed that the Harvesters followed the Hive theory, and according to that, if the queen is killed, her massive army could be immobilized. Hence, the president commanded a combat strike on the mothership.
All right, then. I'm authorizing an immediate retaliatory strike. Let's do it.
But the fighter pilots faced massive counterattacks from the mothership and the newly designed alien fighter vessels and were trapped within the mothership. As only Dylan, Jake, Charlie, and fellow ESD Lieutenant Rain Lau survived, the newly arrived mothership started boring the Earth's molten core for fuel, which will eventually destroy the planet's magnetic field and atmosphere. The alien fighters eventually attacked the president's bunker in the Colorado mountains, killing her and most of her officers. After the tragic death of the president, Captain Joshua Adams quickly became the next president. Amidst the devastation, Julius Levinson was rescued by 4 kids, and later, Julius rescued some school kids whose school bus driver had abandoned them. Julius took all the children on the bus and drove to safety. Meanwhile, Brackish opened the container they had recovered from the moon and retrieved a giant white sphere of artificial intelligence. It suddenly got activated when Floyd touched it. The sphere told them that the Harvesters had destroyed their planet and civilization by extracting the core of the planet. The Harvesters had been destroying countless other planets in the same way. They used the molten core to refuel their ships and advance their technology. The sphere said that they had tried to fight them for thousands of years, but failed. But it holds the key to superior technology to build weapons that can destroy the Harvesters.
Core. They use them to refuel their ships and grow their technology.
There is a hidden planet where refugees are taught to build such weapons, but the sphere was afraid that the Harvester Queen would detect her presence as soon as she had been turned on. The sphere had the purpose of rescuing the humans from the wrath of the Harvesters.
Come to exterminate you. I came to evacuate as many of you as possible.
But the mission failed as humans destroyed the actual rescue vessel. A plan was created to lure the Queen by duplicating the signal of the sphere in an isolated area where a cold fusion bomb could destroy her. Before Patty could volunteer to lead the attack, her father took control of the attack, and he flew and blew the explosives in front of her while Levinson trapped her ship. The significant difference between an average Harvester warrior and their queen was that she was protected by her own shield, like their fighter vessels. Hence, unless her shield was down, she could not be killed. Soon, the queen emerged with her full might, and her first target of the attack was the school bus with the kids, driven by David. But before the queen could attack the bus, she was confronted by Patty, but her shield continuously protected her from all firings. Patty finally managed to destroy her shields with her skill. Before the enraged queen could maul her, she was taken aback by the combined attacks of Dylan, Rain, Jake, and Charles. Suddenly, the Harvester soldiers managed to locate the exact position of the sphere. Soon, the queen diverted all her attention towards acquiring the sphere, as it imposed more threat to her than human beings. With her telepathic powers, she managed to create an encircling shield with all the fighter vessels as she devastated Area 51. She managed to break all the barriers and grasp the spear, but the ESD pilots, with tremendous effort, broke the barrier of the Queen by creating a wall of fire. They started firing at the vulnerable Queen from behind, sustaining fatal wounds to her. While her biomechanical suit was completely damaged, the Queen died, while her fighters without the Queen were disarrayed. The drilling operation of the mothership came to a halt, and once again, the Earth was saved from yet another alien invasion. Many stars of the previous film, except Will Smith, like Jeff Goldblum, Bill Pullman, Judd Hirsch, and Brent Spiner, were back in the movie with a magnificent continuity with a group of new casts like Liam Hemsworth, Micah Monroe, Jesse Usher, and William Fichtner. Like its prequel, the visual effects of Independence Day Resurgence were accomplished by Volker Engel and producer Mark Weigert from Uncharted Territory LLC. With the advancement in CGI, the visual effects could easily be generated instead of depending on miniature models used in the prequel. Scanline VFX was responsible for handling the effects of mothership landing and destruction of different cities, while Weta Digital designed the aliens in the final cinematic battle scene. The film grossed $389.7 million against a budget of $165 million. The film was not close enough to generating the same impact as its prequel, as it had nothing unique to offer. There were many characters in the movie, but there was no depth in the characters, and many definitely didn't give it their best shot. There is no question about the making of this film, which was nearly perfect, and that's what makes it a thrilling watch. Dean Devlin had previously announced the idea of making Independence 3 in the future, but after the low reception of the second film, the idea of a third sequel stands cancelled as of now. Who knows if they changed their minds? As for the first film, I don't remember how many times I've watched the movie, with the same set of emotions running through me every time, and I really don't mind watching it many times in the future. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.